right. Welcome back, YouTubians. Welcome back to the Openly Occultic Book Club. We're in season 2, and we're on the second book of season 2. We're going to be reading the Complete Book of Numerology, Discovering the Inner Self by David A. Phillips, Ph.D. Right? I am really excited about this. I've been waiting to read this for quite a while. Um, Ready to dive into numerology. Up till now, I've really only read articles on numerology. Well, I've read a book, 2 commission books on numerology, but they were really short books. We might could read them here as well if you guys want to do that. But this book is a little longer. I think it's about 205 pages long. So I'm excited to read the complete book of numerology, right? I'm ready to get an enhanced understanding of what we're talking about when we're talking about numerology. Now, I know for me, I am a life path number 7. Do you guys know your life path number? Because I'm living a life path number 7 life. Um, and I've met like 3 other life number 7s in the past month. Coincidentally, like just randomly, it just started. And now here we are a month later. And there's 4 of us that I know of, right? Like at least personally, you know what I mean? I'm like, wow, what is going on? Why does the universe, why am I seeing this? You know what I mean? What's the universe saying? So I've just been paying close attention. And I was going through the books, right? My treasure trove of books that I have. I was going through it, trying to decide what book to read. Now, this was after we read the first book of our season 2. We read Melchizedek and the Mystery of Fire by Manly P. Hall. And so now, after I finished that book up, I said, I don't know what we're going to read. Is it going to be a book on plants, holistic, just a understanding on how on the magic of plants, if you will? And as I was scrolling through, I saw that we had this complete book on numerology, and I said, that's it. Particularly as I kept meeting more and more life number 7s, right? So, yeah, we're going to jump into this book. But before we jump into it, right, you know what we do? We like to look up the book to see get a brief synopsis of the book. We like to look up the author, right? We like to look up the author, Google them, learn a bit about them, and all that we call the pregame. So we're going to jump into the pregame in just a minute here. I want to thank you guys for being here. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Click the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any episodes of reading this book. Because as I said, this book is 205 pages long. We're going to get through this as fast as possible, but I need to break it down into sections, right? So that it's not just one long reading of the book. I'm not going to do that. We like to discuss these things. You can meet us in the Openly Occultic Book Club chat room on the Cedar Grove Herbs website, the CGH chat rooms. If you're on mobile, just click the little menu in the top right and click on Easy Pages, right? You'll see all the different categories of the offerings there at Cedar Grove Herbs. But in the Easy Pages, they'll show you the CGH chat rooms. And the chat rooms are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We want to discuss these occultic things with other people that are into this, right? That's what we want to do. So we want to thank you for being here. We're going to go ahead and jump into the pre-game research that we want to do, right? We're going to jump into who is this David A. Phillips? That's a question. And what is this complete book of numerology, discovering the inner self, about, right? So let's go ahead and do that. The Complete Book of Numerology by David A. Phillips. Come on, right? Discovering the Inner Self Let's see. Based on 40 years of study and research, discovering the inner self is one of the most respected and definitive guides to numerology available. When first writing this book, Dr. David Phillips believed that numbers were becoming more important than words, and that can certainly be said for the new millennium. For the new millennium. Let's see, I need to make this bigger, right? Yeah. Discovering the inner self enables you to understand the connection between your numerological patterns, numerological, your numerological patterns, and your levels of abundance, health, and the quality of your relationships. It is the perfect book for anyone with an interest or a fascination in the power of numbers. Okay, as expected, right? We know we're going to get a lot of numbers, but why numbers, right? What does this have to do with the inner self? That's the questions, right? That's what we're trying to figure out. Why numbers? So it's going to talk about and reveal the underlying meanings behind the numbers in your life. Let's check out any reviews. What do people say about this book when they read it? Right? We got a 4.5. Okay, 4.5 stars. Yes, it'll give us a simple and accurate way to decipher our experiences in the same way that a road map helps you navigate a route that you haven't previously traveled. I like maps. We like treasure maps, right? In our first season, we read the definitive book of human design. We said, ooh, when we saw the body graph, we said, wow, this looks like a treasure map. So, we had a good time reading that. You can go back, there's a playlist, and you can go back and read that book if you'd like to, right? Let's see. I need to hear some reviews. Very well written, thoroughly explained, which is enough information to not overload a beginner. I was able to do most of the equations mentally, which was very nice. Okay. This book offers a fascinating exploration of numerology, delving into its rich history and core principles. The author's insightful interpretations provide a fresh perspective on this ancient practice. Okay. The clear and concise writing style makes complex concepts easily accessible to readers of all levels. Practical applications and real world examples bring the subject matter to life. I highly recommend this book to anyone seeking a deeper understanding of themselves and the world around them through the power of numbers. Cool. All right, that's what's up. Let's see. I was looking for a broad and basic description of the Pythagorean numerology, and I believe I found it in this modern classic, The Complete Book of Numerology. The author clearly and succinctly explains the methods of determining key numbers, such as the ruling number, called the life path number in some other texts, right? So we'll get understanding on the ruling number, the life path number, the day number, and name numbers. Okay? He also demonstrates how to create a birth chart and a name chart and explores deeper concepts such as arrows of individuality and pyramids to identify peaks in the 9 year cycle of change. Wow. We're getting a lot of information here. Um, so, since we are getting a lot of information, and I'm hoping we got new people here too that have, you know, uh, they're here for the first time, and maybe they have never, maybe they're just exploring what we're talking about when we're talking about occultic. I want to remind everybody so that nobody gets spooked out. What do we mean by the Openly Occultic Book Club? What is the occult? The occult only means something that's available only to the initiate, right? Otherwise, it's a secret or a mystery, right? Like if you were to go into the ER, into heart surgery right now, and you had to perform open heart surgery, for you, this would be a secret or a mystery. You don't know how to do this. And now you're scared, really. I don't want to kill this person. I can't do this. Let me give it to somebody who's been initiated into, this understanding the body, the heart, how to perform this surgery, right? So outside of, you know, you being an initiate, it'll be occultic for you. It's hidden information. It's information that's available only to the initiate. Really, to sum it up. Now, we see here it says of relating to or dealing with supernatural or magical influences like astrology, numerology. You see what I'm saying? Like this is science for somebody who doesn't know science. Science is supernatural for somebody that doesn't understand physics, doesn't understand, so many different things scientifically. If you walk up to them and start talking about or showing by example these things that you understand, for them will be a complete mystery. It's mysterious, it's downright supernatural. How are you doing that? You know what I mean? So we need to understand, and just because it's a mystery doesn't mean it's a mystery for all people. Like there's no way to solve it. Like it's not a solvable issue or problem. You see what I'm saying? So when we're talking about that, we need to discuss that. I just want to remind you guys, let's bring this up. Let's not forget that we're really just talking about something that's available only to the initiate. Okay? So yeah. And so when you're hearing these kind of words, ruling number, life path number, day number, name number, birth chart, you're like, what? If you're new to the occult or to energy work, that's what we're about here, right? Energy work. So if you're new to it, because your birth chart is giving you information about where the sun, moon, and stars are at, planets, Mars, Venus, where they were at when you were born, when you came through the portal of your mother's womb, when you manifested here in this reality, right? So a birth chart is marking the time when you entered into the portal, because now these different planets and the sun and moon are making up your energetic makeup. If you didn't know that, you wouldn't know that. It would be mysterious to you. And when we're talking about these things, you wouldn't feel like you're in the know, right? So let's initiate you real quick into this work, energy work. So that's what a birth chart is. A name chart. I haven't had a name chart, but both my name and my life number are number 7. So and it explores deeper concepts such as arrows of individuality. Not quite sure I know what that means, but I know about variables in human design, and I wonder if I'll find out that it's quite similar. And pyramids to identify peaks in the 9-year cycle of change. What 9-year cycle of change? Well, apparently there is one, and we'd like to learn about it, right? So we know. Let's get initiated into this information, right? This is the Openly Occultic Bookclub. So in addition to the calculation of numbers and configurations of charts, the author provides basic descriptions of the meanings of numbers in various situations. He includes details in using the knowledge to better understand traits, develop strengths, and overcome weaknesses, right? The book can easily be used as a handbook for practical numerology. There's more. He provides background about the philosophical and metaphysical underpinnings of numerology as a science. So, see, maybe there's patterns that you don't know about, patterns we didn't know about previously, cycles, and somebody who does know about this comes along at just this time and shows and exhibits this thing that they're aware of, but you don't know anything about it. You would be like very shocked, and I'm sure this is how the worship of man started in many ways. You start worshiping a man, in so many ways because he knows something you don't. So knowledge is power, right? Facts. So all that's cool. Let's see. Uh, let's look up the guy, right? David A. Phillips. Who's that guy? Hmm. Author of numerology, because I want to get like information about him. You know what I mean? So let's check here. During his lifetime, David A. Phillips wrote 12 books. His expertise in health and nutrition culminated in his attainment of a doctorate philosophy from London University in 1971. He traveled regularly to every English-speaking country to lecture and consult on numerology, incorporating his lifelong study of health and personal growth into his teachings. He was regarded by many as one of the world's leading numerologists. Okay. All right. What else? We got a wiki on him. We just want to do a little pre-game research, and I just want to know a little bit more on this guy, right? I wonder. I literally just saw wiki. Said wiki. Let's get the wiki article on this guy. Not on numerology per se, but I wonder if they'll cite or give me more links to further read on uh, David Phillips. Hmm. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to go to the sources, see if I can get some more information on him, but it's looking like it's not coming easily. It's not coming quickly to me right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, there's quite a lot you can learn about numerology. So, let's go ahead. Let's just jump into the book because it's not coming up easily for me who he is. I don't want to take up too much of your time. You can continue the search on your own on David Phillips. That's not him. But what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and jump into the book. Let's just go on and jump into the book. Um, see what we're doing here. Here we go. And this was copyright 1992. First edition in 1980. First edition in 1980. Okay. All right. So, a Hay House production. Foreword by Leon Naxon. We see the table of contents here. We're going to be dealing with numerology, the science of self-discovery, the inner self revealed, metaphysical understanding of numbers, the three aspects of self, the birth chart. I don't know how far we'll get into it today. So I'm going to just read and it'll just be in the description and the title, right? So this is exciting though. All this I want to hear about all this stuff, right? See what he's got to say. Let's read the complete book on numerology. Right? The astrology numerology connection, the power of names. That's good stuff. In our Openly Occultic podcast, we're going to be talking about metaphysical parasites. So this will be interesting to read about the power of names because, when we were in part one on parasites, the physical parasites, and when we get into part two, we'll be talking about ways to deal with metaphysical parasites, aka jinn, demons, what have you. And it talks about, and we're going to be talking about Solomon, right? And how Solomon controlled demons, if you will, made them work for him. So we'll be talking about the power of names, really. You know what I mean? So I'll be interested in hearing what he has to say on that. And then we can go forward with that because we're going to be doing a parasite detox soon. And we know it's not just physical parasites we're dealing with out here. We're dealing with thought forms and things like that. So, okay, and compatibility, numerology wise, in relationships. And then, okay, developing the intuition and ESP using neurology. That's what's up. And reincarnation. Do we have a choice? Wow. Do we have a choice? What do you guys say? What are your thoughts in the comment? That's the last chapter in the book. Starting now. Let's talk about reincarnation. Do we have a choice? Things that make you go, okay. In our lives, we've all had individuals cross our path who affect a profound influence on its direction. Let's see if I can make this bigger. That's cool, right? When I first met David, I knew absolutely nothing about publishing books. His insight and advice benefited not only me, but also the hundreds of authors I now publish. This book has been through many metamorphoses, and I felt part of its evolution should be to bring it into the new millennium. And so, to honor his memory, our friendship, and the extensive study he did into the science of numbers, the Complete Book of Numerology was carefully edited to give it a contemporary feel. David was a devoted father and a loving husband. The support and encouragement he got from his wife, Delwyn, and his family ensured that whatever his lifetime goals were, he scored straight between the posts. Leon Naxon. Oh, hey House, Australia. That's very nice. That's what's up. Okay, here we go. You guys ready? We're in chapter 1. Numerology, the science of self-discovery. My life radically changed when I met Hetty Templeton in 1954. Not quite sure of my career choice to be an electrical engineer, my friend Bill Christopher suggested that I see Mrs. T and have your numbers read. Though my student days were devoted to the use of numbers, to comparing quantities and solving equations, I was yet to be convinced that numbers could be used to unravel life's problems. Yet within 5 minutes of meeting Mrs. T, my doubt dissolved. Equipped with only my birth date and my name, Mrs. T told me things about myself that I thought only I knew. That hour with her changed my life's direction. It gave me confidence that I had not previously known and explained many mysterious past events. I was fascinated. So the following year, coinciding with my postgraduate research into medical electronics, I commenced study in numerology, the science of numbers. Over the many long years that I've studied numerology, I've learned that there's no better way for us to understand ourselves or our personal connection with others. Wow. So many people spend so much of their time zigzagging through life, bouncing from experience to experience, as though caught in a pinball machine. We simply do not know our own minds, nor the appropriate paths to take. And though there are countless courses and seminars available today devoted to personal growth, the information overload often creates psychological and intellectual indigestion and a whole new experience of inner confusion. Numerology, on the other hand, provides direct knowledge of the inner self. And from this basis of self understanding, we're able to determine or direct a determined course through life. Numerology recognizes that numbers are vibrations. What do we say here at the Openly Occultic Book Club, Cedar Grove Herbs? We said the assignment is to raise your vibration, right? First of all. And here we see numerology recognizes that numbers are vibrations. And each vibration is different from the next. Okay? due to the number of cycles that it oscillates at per second. The variation in each number, in each case, is a number, right? The variation in vibration is a number. Every sound, color, fragrance, and thought is a vibration, and each dances to the tune of its inherent number, each in its distinct way connected to life. Thus, it doesn't take too much imagination to realize that human life has an intimate connection with numbers, for they are the very essence of life's expression. Man, ain't that true? So every sound, color, fragrance, and thought, numbers, letters, right? A is one, B is two. Come on. We know. Let's get into it. This is going to be so cool. So, as such, understanding numbers provides us with a simple and accurate meaning of our life in the same way as a road map helps us to navigate a route we have previously or not previously traveled. Should we have the fire sound again? I liked the fire sound that we had when we were using it in our reading of Melchizedek and the mystery of fire. When we had that sound effect, we were like, wow, it sounds like, first of all, it sounds like electricity. You know what I mean? So we were like, yeah, we like that sound. So I'm wondering if we should go ahead and continue having that as background noise. It kind of sounds like, you're at a fire, at a campfire, and we're reading turn it down a little bit. And we're reading, around a campfire. So you get that kind of feel going on. I don't know. I feel like, anyway, we'll continue reading. Pythagoras. Yeah. Pythagoras reveals the world of numbers. So, what do you guys know about Pythagoras? Here we go. Right. What do you guys know about Pythagoras? Pythagoras reveals the world of the wonder of numbers. Born in 608 BC, Pythagoras sought to free the human mind from political and religious confinement. Pythagoras gathered about him an ever-increasing number of students keen to aspire towards personal independence and to discover the meaning of love and life. The essence of his teachings was enshrined in the axiom, "Know thyself, then thou shalt know the universe and God." Pythagoras founded his own university at Crotona, a Greek colony in southern Italy, around 532 BC. Right? Admission was open to all who sincerely sought to learn. There was no distinction between sex, race, color, or creed. However, every person who entered had to make a commitment to intense study. Right? The major course taught was in self-development and was provided in a 3-part curriculum. The primary component was known as preparation. It consisted of intensive training in the 10 mathematical disciplines designed to provide the student with empire over the self, sovereignty. Right? Sovereignty. So intensive training in the 10 mathematical disciplines. Okay. The second trimester was called purification. Its essence was the understanding of life, its purpose, and how to work in harmony with that purpose as taught through the science of numbers, more commonly known today as numerology. In the final trimester, students were taught the concept of perfection. Perfection embraced the integration of the physical, mental, and spiritual components of each person and of life. This book is offered to the keen student of life who, perhaps unconsciously, has been searching for purification for the answers to life's many unsolved enigmas, and it's a complete course in numerology based on the original Pythagorean teachings. You'll discover who you really are and how you can further improve the understanding of your life. Numerology can also help you to relate better to other people, become more emotionally and financially secure, maintain good health, and live a thoroughly loving life. Nice. We like to hear that. That's great. So that's what I'm mixing. I'm fixing the volume. But so that is what we're talking about when we're discussing numerology and how it can help us in our life, right? So this book he's saying it'll help us when you know about numerology. It can help you relate better in life to other people, and it just enhances your quality of life, right? So that's good stuff. We're all about raising our vibration and enhancing our quality of life. So we know that knowing about this stuff, we need to learn it, first of all. So, yeah, talking about our mission at CGH, we need to know about numerology. We need to know about the different tools we can use to enhance the quality of our life. I'm trying to change the text on the screen because I want to add, some text at the top. So that means I need to make actually this screen a little smaller so that I can add the text at the top. Oh, there we go. All right, that'll work. Yeah. All right, we set, guys. So, the inner self revealed, chapter 2. Within each person is a beautiful light waiting to shine forth, a magnificent being aching for expression. That's the inner self, our individuality, our essential uniqueness. But this is not what we generally present to the world. Instead, we have produced a personality, a composite expression at the crux of which is our individuality, our inner self. The average person is often two people. That which is freely expressed is usually the image, while the real person, the unique individuality of our inner self, is all too frequently suppressed. The image is something of an emotional ghost that we have cultivated to defend our sensitivities. But we sell ourselves far too short, for our image can never hold to the beauty and grandeur of our natural inner self, right? Ain't that the truth? The acute sensitivity of the inner self is often mistaken for vulnerability. And as a consequence, we build up a psychological wall. We stifle it, refusing to give it air, exercise, and expression. It's funny. I got really sensitive the other day. And yeah, we do. I mean, like, to where I was fighting back tears. And yeah, we mistake sensitivity, the acute sensitivity of our inner selves. Because remember when you were a kid and you were really sensitive? Okay, we know we got a wall up now. We're grown ups. I'm middle aged. So we know we try not to, you know, be sensitive, too sensitive, overly sensitive. So, so remember the sensitivity of children, way more sensitive than we are now as grown ups. But he's saying the acute sensitivity of the inner self, the spirit, your soul, your spirit, the inner self, is often mistaken for vulnerability. Right? Man, I'm gonna grab me some water. But wow, think about that. Let that sink in. The acute sensitivity of the inner self is often mistaken for vulnerability. And as a consequence, we build up a psychological wall. We stifle it, refusing to give it air, exercise, and expression. Mm, yeah, I see that. I can see that for sure. In varying ways, we are all searching, but generally, we begin to understand the inner self only when we start to understand who we are and where we've come from, our purpose in choosing this life, and how to achieve that purpose. hmm In varying ways, we're all searching, but generally, the search is for something external. We need to realize that the answers lie within. For as thinking, sensitive people, we need more answers to life than religion, politics, or science has so far delivered. We need guidance, not promises, examples, not theories, and this is what I hope to deliver in the pages that follow. The science of numbers, as originally taught by Pythagoras, is about to be revealed. Are you prepared for an exciting journey? A journey that will take you to the heart of your inner self? Why, yes, I am. Why, yes, I am. So, chapter 3, a metaphysical understanding of numbers or numbers. Is this a typo? What's going on? To the material scientist, numbers are merely symbols of cooperative quantity. Excuse me, comparative quantity. To the material scientist, numbers are merely symbols of comparative quantity. Excuse me, you guys. I got a lot of mercury. My mind moves faster than my mouth, my body. I have a lot of mercury placements. So I'm trying to come up with a way to add mercury to my name because I am mercury. I'm Quicksilver. So I try to go slow when I'm reading, but I have to consciously practice it because I move fast. To the metaphysical scientist or numerologist, right? So you're a metaphysical scientist if you're a numerologist. One and the same, baby. Numbers assume a more profound significance. They represent aspects of what it is to be human. In numerology, all numbers develop from and are connected to the absolute number, 1. For this number represents the expression of the ego, without which human life is expressionless and would cease to exist. Hmm. The number 1 represents the expression of the ego. hmm To truly understand numerology, we must first know the essential metaphysical meaning of the numbers as based on the original arcane meanings taught 2,500 years ago by Pythagoras. I would personally like to go back further than Pythagoras. I'd like to go back 2,500, way more than 2,500 years ago. But this is what we're reading, so this is where we'll start here. You know what I'm saying? I'm paying attention. 1 is the first physical number. As the only absolute number, it's the symbol of divine expression. It's the key to verbal self-expression and the expression of the ego as a microcosm of the divine, the macrocosm. It's the key to our communication skills. 2 is the first spiritual feeling number. It represents the duality of humans and symbolizes the gateway to our sensitivities, as well as our need to be part of a pair. It's the number of intuition. So it represents the duality of humans and symbolizes the gateway to our sensitivities. 3 is the first mind thinking number. Following the primary verbal 1 and intuitive 2 expressions comes the mental. It is the gateway to the conscious mind and to rational understanding, the focus of left brain activity, the key to memory. The number 3 is symbolized by the triangle, representing the connection of mind, soul, and body. Okay. 4 is the number at the center of the physical or doing plane, the key to the orderliness, practicality, and organizing. It is symbolized by the square, the basis of all practical construction. Okay. Good stuff. 5 is the center of the soul, feeling plane, and the very center of the total birth chart. It is the spiritual number representing love and freedom of expression. 6 is the center of the mind, or thinking plane, where it represents creativity, the integration of the left and right lobes of the brain. It also represents the opposite of creativity, destruction. This is negative creativity expressed as worry, stress, anxiety, and depression. Okay. So 6 is the center of the mind, the thinking plane, and it represents creativity, but it can go both ways, right? Everything got a polarity to it. 7 is the symbol of the temple, the human body, and its 7 chakras or power centers. It is the teaching, learning number, the number of practical, philosophical experience. Such learning is usually acquired through sacrifice as the means of indelible instruction. 8 is the most active spiritual number, situated at the active end of the soul plane. It is the number of wisdom expressed intuitively through loving action. It brings independence into focus. 9 is the threefold number at the action end of the mind plane. As mind in action, it represents ambition, the physical aspect, responsibility, the thinking aspect, and idealism, the spiritual aspect, and so combines the attributes of each of the previous numbers. Okay. 0 is a symbol rather than a number. The 0 is present in many birth dates and has an important symbolic significance. Philosophically and mathematically, it represents nothing as the numerator and everything as the denominator. The two infinite ends of the finite, neither of which is physically attainable. Thus, it is a totally mystical symbol, indicative of the degree of spiritual mysticism inherent but rarely developed in the individual. Anyone who has one or more zeros in their birth date has an inherent spirituality that they should recognize, for it has the potential to assist them in understanding many of the deeper aspects of life, such as life's purpose, the power of thought, and the process of reincarnation. So the 0, if you have one or more, this 0 represents this potential, this inherent spirituality that is there and gives you the potential to help you understanding many of the deeper aspects of life. Okay, let's jump into chapter 4, the 3 aspects of self. The 3 aspects of self. To penetrate the deeper level of human awareness, which numerology allows us to do, it's important to understand the threefold nature of human being and how our 3 selves are intimately connected. 3 terms are used to succinctly and simply describe our 3 selves: the basic self, the conscious self, and the higher self. Let me explain each in turn. The basic self. The primary level of human expression is through the body. The initial cry of the newborn baby, the adult's yell for help, the last gasping word of the dying, they all emanate from and through basic self. It is at this level that the child attains practical familiarity with his environment. Isn't it funny how kids be like, oh, I have hands. This is how they move and work, and I use them. Just getting used to being in your body. You know what I mean? Expression of the 5 physical senses: seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, and smelling constitute the primary functions of basic self, together with talking, laughing, crying, and all other physical activities. Basic self-motivation is largely reactive once we have grown old enough to master the physical activities in our environment. It is the body in self-defense. It is instinctive behavior as distinct from the intuitive behavior of high self. Right? Insecurity, sensation seeking, the desire for control of situations or of people, or just basic exhibitionism are the expressions of basic self. Basic self people are ego motivated, and their wants, desires, or demands often supersede their needs, requirements, and preferences, and they are noticeably left brain motivated. So, basic self, Insecurity, sensation seeking, the desire for control of situations or of other people. All this and exhibitionism are expressions of basic self. Basic self people are ego motivated, and their wants supersede their needs. You know? An understanding of numerology will be of considerable help to such people who will learn to contain basic self so that it is the slave of the ego, not its master. And so life's lessons are readily recognized without need for harsher repetition and compounded sacrifice, right? That's good stuff. Knowing numerology can help you become the master of yourself, not a slave to your ego. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing. So this will help you rise above your root chakra at the least. You know what I mean? Become master of your life in your body, right? We're talking about having a higher quality of life. So you can't be running to other outside authorities. You're the authority of your life. In due time, that's the journey, right? That's what comes with raising your vibration. You realize those things. So, yeah, this understanding of numerology will definitely help you with that. And let us never forget that basic self is vital to self-expression. All right? to balance expression while in the physical body. Wholeness and balance, tribe. Let us never forget that basic self is vital to balanced expression while in the physical body. In fact, it is the body in action when total integration with the other two selves is present. Otherwise, it is the body in reaction. Facts. As we learn to control basic self, it becomes our faithful physical servant. Ego is then motivated by compassion and wisdom. Our physical lives become organized, and we become more patient with ourselves and others. Our lives become less sacrificial as we become more philosophic. We evolve from the victim to the victor, right? Victory. Basic self in its fullness is the positive connection of the three numbers of the physical plane: 1, 4, and 7. Basic self in its fullness is the positive connection of the three numbers of the physical plane: 1, 4, and 7. You can read more about that in chapters 5 and 6. We sure will, but we'll get to it. So, the conscious self. Conscious self is the home of our thoughts and attitudes. It can also be the home of our joy and sadness, as well as our ability to choose either joy or sadness. It is the domain of memory, creativity, and idealism. Okay, so conscious self is the home of our thoughts and attitudes. It can be the home of our joy and sadness, and our ability to choose joy or sadness. So this is where you make your conscious decisions on raising your vibration, because this is the assignment to raise your vibration, right? So when you're finding yourself in low thoughts, right, and attitudes, reach out for your different tools, because they're all around you. You can use different tools to raise your vibration. One of those tools is herbs. You could get crystals, sound therapy, color therapy, right? Tuners, frequency, turn on some music that you like, or, you can shop at the cedargroveherbs.com website, and there you can find many different tools that you can use. And of course, you would test them out. Everybody's unique, right? So you could test out different things and find out what you know definitely works for you. Make sure to use the coupon discount code to get 15% off at cedargroveherbs.com, right? So, but yeah, absolutely. It's really about just knowing that this stuff is actually real, and learning about the different tools you can use to help yourself. That's what it's all about, right? So, conscious self is the bridge between basic self and high self, integrating our reactive and instinctive aspects with our spiritual values. It is the connection between the left and right lobes of our brain. It's the crease in the middle. Mm-hmm. When it chooses to be negative, conscious self becomes unconscious self. It becomes deceitful, reactive, evasive, and stress ridden, and adopts the role of the poorly done by victim. When it chooses to be negative. However, if we allow it to fulfill its ultimate purpose, conscious self is the greatest appraiser, the great appraiser. It translates spiritual awareness into physical consciousness. Conscious self helps us to interpret intuition, love, and wisdom. It's the place where knowledge, compassion, and wisdom is translated into positive action. Conscious self is anchored in the memory. It links past knowledge with present experience to create a repository of pertinent information. When used positively, this repository becomes the basis of our confidence and self-esteem, and expands to embrace enhanced creativity and, even further, intelligent idealism. Interesting. hmm The three numbers of the mind plane are 3, 6, and 9, and they unite to empower conscious self. Wow. Tesla said, if you know the secrets of the 369, you'll know everything. Really. Right? High self. High self includes our moral virtues, our philosophical ideas, and our spiritual values. It is the essence of sensitivity and feeling, the aspect of our being that recognizes and determines our needs. It expresses itself as intuition, love, and wisdom. Our high self, our higher self, it is our highest form of expression, the God within. Action through high self is largely right brained, creative, spiritual, and compassionate. Wow. Many people confuse love with emotions. True love is a function of high self. Physical attraction, basic self, and mental conditioning, conscious self, frequently accompany love, but not necessarily. Love has a depth that permeates every facet of positive human expression. It enjoys expression through the emotions, but it is not governed by the emotions. High self is best facilitated through the development of our intuition, which leads to a depth of personal freedom. I didn't mean to just skip past how many people confuse love with emotions. Right? I should have said that again for the people in the back. Many people confuse love with emotions. hmm High self is best facilitated through the development of our intuition, which leads to a depth of personal freedom. Attendant to such freedom is a newfound wealth and compassion. It leads to a depth of wisdom that is almost legendary in human expression. In numerology, high self is represented as the soul or feeling plane, comprising the numbers 2, 5, and 8. The new millennium, with every birth date at least including a 2, will see a more genuine spirituality manifested in human affairs. You see that? Wow. So we're in 2026. Every birth date will at least include a 2. Hmm. 2. 2 twos. 3 twos. This decade. Hmm. So because of that, knowing that in numerology, high self is represented as the soul or feeling plane, and that it would include the numbers 2, 5, and 8. Since we're in 2026, the new millennium, these kids will see a more genuine spirituality manifesting in human affairs and in them. Wow. We're learning and we're seeing. I don't know what you guys think. Let me see. Nephew was born in 2015. So he got a 2. I was born in 1980. So I don't have a 2. But these new kids, particularly anybody born this decade, got 3. 2026. Just the 2020, so they gonna have 3 twos. What do you think? Are the new babies more spiritual? Hmm? What are the babies? What are the babies? I haven't been around no baby in a minute. What are the babies exhibiting out there, guys? a gentleness. Chapter 5, the birth chart. When we want to open a locked door, we need the key. For most people, the inner self is behind a locked door, for rarely do they discover who they really are or develop their ultimate potential. The key to discovering the inner self through numerology is the birth chart. The primary purpose of the birth chart is to reveal at a glance the overall formula or pattern of our strengths and weaknesses. Each different birth date results in a different birth chart. There are almost endless variations, but the construction is always the same. Handed down from teacher to teacher over the centuries in its pure, uncorrupted form, let me introduce you to the noble simplicity of the Pythagorean birth chart. All right. So now we get to get some information on what we're talking about here. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, guys. All right. Step 1, convert your birth date to its full numerical equivalent. For example, if you were born January 21st, 1963, you would convert it to 1/21/1963. Always remember to include the full year. Okay? Step 2, the birth chart is constructed of 4 short straight lines, 2 drawn horizontally, 2 vertically, like a tic-tac grid. Tic-tac-toe, not tic-toc, tic-tac-toe grid. The vertical lines intersecting the horizontal lines like a knots and crosses layout. Right, okay. The tic-tac-toe, the pound sign. This empty birth chart is symbolic of a baby as yet unborn. Each of the 9 spaces is the permanent home for each of the 9 numbers. Whenever a number appears in a birth date, it must always be placed in its own space, nowhere else. If numbers are absent from the birth date, the corresponding spaces of the birth chart remain empty. If all numbers were present in the birth date, the completed birth chart will appear as fully balanced. This reveals no missing numbers. It further reveals an impossibility. The most numbers we can have in our birth date is 8, of which the numbers 1, 2, or 3 must be repeated. The maximum number of spaces that can be filled in the birth chart is 7, such as when a person has a birth date of May 27, 1980. That's 4, 5, 6, 7. The maximum numbers that can be filled in is 7. There's 9 on here. The most numbers we can have in our birth date is 8. The maximum number of spaces that can be filled in the birth chart is 7. I'm like, what happened? How we handle the birth chart when any number in the birth date is repeated is exactly the same as the previous example. For example, take the birth dates 11/11, 11/11, 1999, and 2, right, February 20th, 2000. The 2 birth charts would appear as I see. Obviously, the maximum number of empty spaces on a birth chart for the 20th century is 7, while for the 21st century it is 8. Okay. A further important aspect is the absence of 0 from any birth chart. Its value and purpose were explained in Chapter 3. Its repeated presence in a birth date reduces the prevalence of birth chart numbers and in turn reveals vital growth needs, as in the second example. Though this person's spiritual powers are heightened, the mind and physical planes are poorly undernourished. Oh. Talking about the two. Because they got a lot of zeros, right? Remember we said we're talking about the zeros. So they got 4 zeros. And though this person's spiritual powers are heightened with the 4 zeros, the mind and physical planes are poorly undernourished. This is the spiritual plane, mind and physical, or something like that. I don't know. Spiritual, mind, physical, I don't know. But yeah, the other planes are absent or empty. I get what is being said here. To construct your own birth chart, simply draw a naked birth chart, the pound sign, and fill in the spaces with your birth date numbers. Okay. With your birth chart now constructed, you have your basic individuality formula in place. We're now ready to analyze its many and various aspects. This is Pythagorean numerology. But first, we need to observe the overall birth chart in its entirety as a key to unlocking vital secrets of the inner self. We must recognize the three cells as expression on the three planes that comprise the birth chart. So the first row is the mind plane, the conscious self, mental thinking, right? The 369, I see it. Yes. The soul plane, spiritual feeling, high self plane, right? 2, 5, and 8. The basic self, practical doing, physical plane, that's the 1, 4, 7. Okay. Here we see the balanced birth chart with its three planes and their meanings. The degree of concentration of numbers on each plane gives a general indication of which self is most fluently expressed. This knowledge is extremely beneficial in human relationships, for it reveals the level of communication most favored by each person. How much better would be our rapport with our spouse, children, and work colleagues if we instantly knew their preferred plane of expression, i.e., with which self they most identify. The following example clearly illustrates the most important aspect of numerology. So let's look at Shirley MacLaine, born April 24th, 1934. Right? So you have the 4 and then the 24, so which you add a 2 and then add another 4 because now it's 2 4s. And then the 19, 30, and then another 4. So you got 3 4s here. And we see it because the numbers never change and you just add how many extra or additional ones you have. That's pretty interesting. When I added up my birth chart, I just added all the numbers up and then reduced them down to a 1, right? For me. And it was like, I got down to like 34 and then add the 3 and 4 and it's 7. So I got 7 by way of 34, right? And there's different ways you can get to the 7, right? You can get it from 34, you can get to it from 43. You can get to it from 61, 16, 5, 2, 52, 25. Hey, all kind of ways you can get to the 7. In spite of her 1980s lapse into New Age spirituality, Shirley's birth chart formula clearly reveals her spiritual plane to be her weakest. Her dominant strength appears in her physical plane with her compounded 4s. That's the physical plane. All right? Little wonder she was so easily enticed back to the work in the entertainment industry. That's not to say that she has deserted the spiritual, for it's clear that she needs to develop this undernourished aspect of herself. But she is prepared to give it But is she prepared to give it as much focus as it needs? Or is she content with being the new age guru she speedily became when, in fact, she was but a novice in the field? The meaning of each plane. Mind plane. The mind represents the human head and is symbolically found on the top line of the birth chart. It embraces memory, thinking, analyzing, rationalizing, imagining, creating, responsibility, ambition, and idealism. Right? The mind plane. top line. The soul plane represents the human heart and is symbolically found in the center of the birth chart, from where it governs sensitivity. It also embraces intuition, love, freedom, positive emotions, artistic expression, spiritual independence, and wisdom. The physical plane. The physical plane represents human activity and is symbolically found at the base of the birth chart. It embraces verbal expression, motivation, body language, organization, patience, materialism, and learning through sacrifice. All right. The numbers on your birth chart. Number 1, located at the entrance of the physical plane. So the left side of the bottom row, the number 1. The entrance to the physical plane. They're calling that the entrance. So we're going from left to right. Okay. I mean, obviously not. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, and then we go. Yeah, from left to right, bottom to the top. Okay. So number 1, located at the entrance to the physical plane, it refers to the expression of the physical body in terms of its relationship to the outside world. It's usually a reliable indication of the extent to which a person reacts to other people and circumstances, the immediate environment. It tends to indicate the degree of personal self-control or its lack. This number is the foundation of the personality, for it represents the ego and how it is expressed or suppressed. Right? Man, I'm going to come back. I know on the next episode I'm going to have my little square done and we could talk about it. Or better yet, meet me in the book club chat room. We'll talk about it there. I'm gonna when we get done with this, I'm gonna do my little pound sign, my little tic-tac-toe grid birth chart, and get my numbers together, and we'll talk about it in the chat room. Okay, we want to build up this chat room. I want it to be flowing with people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I want you to always be able to have somebody you can talk to about these things as we raise our vibration, raise our consciousness. This is the age of Aquarius, right? So as we get the understanding, we need other people around us to be able to talk about these things, right? Because outside of that, the other people that have not had this dawning in their consciousness are going, not understand what we're talking about, right? So we want to be able to talk about this with other people that talk about this. So please join us in the Openly Occultic Book Club chat room, and we can talk all about this. I'll talk about my chart when we get there. I don't know. I haven't been able to understand what they got going on with these headings. Gone. I don't know. A gone one. Birth dates with a single one belong to people who have some difficulty in verbal expression. Okay, if you just have one in your square, this is not to imply they can't speak well. Rather, it indicates the difficulty that they have in giving clear explanations of their inner feelings. They can be forceful orators when the subject doesn't involve the expression of personal feelings, but fall short of putting into words their attitudes or conduct. Until they develop adequate self-mastery, a product of maturity and understanding, self-expression will not come easily to them. At times, they will intentionally say the opposite of what they mean as a form of aggressive defense, intended to hurt or offend as a self-protection mechanism. This invariably compounds the initial problem, leading to some frightful arguments. They must learn to think before they speak, and can do so by taking conscious command of their responses rather than reacting in the moment, as the spoken word is often impossible to retract, and hurt feelings are difficult to mend. Interesting. Do you have 1, 1 in your bottom left-hand square, the first square, the physical plane? To overcome this limitation, take a blank notebook. Head the first page with today's date. Then tonight, before bed, take a few minutes to write down your thoughts and feelings about the day. Be sure to cover the things you didn't do or say that you would like to have done or said, or the things that you said that you wished you hadn't. The following morning, at the first opportunity, read the previous night's entry aloud to yourself in front of a full-length mirror to observe your body language. Do it regularly, and you'll notice the confidence in your self-expression grow. Okay, good tips. That's a good tip. Wow.